Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to continue looking at formulae. Our first question today gives us a diagram with the length of A being the entire length of the line, length B being from the start of the line to this point here, and the length of C being the length of the line from this point here to the end of the line. Using this diagram, we need to write three different formulae that connect A, B and C together. We'll start this question by writing down A equals, and we'll try to find a formula that connects A with B and C. From the diagram, I can see that if I add the lengths B and C together, I will get the whole length of the line, which is equal to A. So as a formula, this would be written as A equals B plus C. This is a formula because we have more than one variable and there is an equal sign. Now we need to write two more formulae. Our next one is going to start with B equals. So I need to try and figure out how we can get B from using A and C. Because A represents the whole length of the line, I'm going to have to take something away from A in order to be left with B. So, if I do A take away C, then we're left with just B. So another formula can be B equals A take away C. Our final formula is going to be very similar, but we're going to have C equals, again I have the whole length of the line for A, and if I take away B, I will be left with C. So our final formula is C equals A minus B. Our next question is similar, but we have a different diagram here. P represents the length of the base of a rectangle. Q represents the length of the height of the rectangle. And A represents the area of the rectangle. We need three different formulae that connect P, Q and A together. If we start off with A, how can we get the area of a rectangle if we know the length of the base and the length of the height? Well, area equals base times height for a rectangle. So our formula here would be A equals P times Q. Because P and Q are variables, we don't have to write a multiply symbol between them. So A equals PQ is a correct formula for this diagram. Our next formula will try and get P by itself. So how can I get the length of the base of a rectangle if I know the area and if I know the height? Well, we would need to do area divided by height equals base. So here P is the base, but we would need to do area divided by the height, which is Q. So P equals A over Q is another correct formula. Our final one, again, will be similar to the last one. This time we're going for the height Q, and we would have to have the area divided by the length of the base, which is P. Our next set of questions focus on rearranging formulae. This question says, make A the subject of the formula where A plus 3B equals C. At the moment, C is the subject of the formula because it is the variable that is isolated by itself on one side of the formula. What we need to do is to isolate A so it is by itself. So our final answer should look like A equals and then some algebra after that. So to do this, we're going to use the same rules that we used for rearranging equations to try and rearrange this formula. So I need to isolate the variable of a. To isolate a, I need to get rid of the plus 3b term. So to do that, we will subtract 3b from both sides of the formula. A will drop down. The plus 3b and the minus 3b will cancel each other out. The equal sign will drop down. But then we have c and a take away 3b. Now, there are no like terms with this take away 3b, and we cannot do c take away 3b and simplify that. So simply, we write down c take away 3b. This is the final answer to the question, because we've now got a isolated by itself on one side of the formula. Therefore, the answer is a equals c minus 3b. We look at the next question, which is make a the subject of the formula, where a plus b plus c equals d. Here, we need to isolate the variable. Again, we want to get a by itself on one side of the formula. To do this, I need to get rid of the plus b and I need to get rid of the plus c. We'll do this step by step. So I will subtract b from both sides of the formula. The a will drop down. Plus b and minus b will cancel each other out. Plus c will just drop down. The equal sign will drop down. And then we have d take away b. Because these are not like terms, we cannot simplify d take away b, so we just write that down. We've not finished this question because a is not isolated by itself. There's still a plus c that we need to get rid of. So again, we'll isolate a, and to do that we need to subtract c from both sides of the formula. A will drop down as nothing's happening to it. Plus c and take away c cancel each other out. The equal sign drops down. And then d take away b take away c. Because there are no like terms, we just write down those terms. So the final answer for this question is a equals d take away b take away c. Our next question is make a the subject of a minus 3b equals c. Again, we want to isolate a by itself, which means we need to get rid of the minus 3b. So to both sides, we will add 3b. A will drop down. Minus 3b add 3b cancels. The equal sign drops down. C add 3b. Again, because they're not like terms, we cannot simplify them, so we just write that down. A is isolated by itself, so the answer to this question is a equals c plus 3b. The next question, again, is make a the subject with ab equals c. Again, we want to isolate the variable of a, so we're asking ourselves, what do we need to do to both sides of the formula to get rid of this multiply by b? To do that, we need to divide both sides by b. So ab divided by b, the b's will cancel out and we'll be left with just a, which is what we're looking for, and the equal sign will drop down. Now, c divided by b, well, we can't do that division because we have two different variables, but in algebra, we can write divisions as fractions. So the answer for this question is a equals c over b. Our next question is making a the subject of the formula a over b equals c. We want to isolate a, which means I need to get rid of the divide by b. That means to both sides we are going to multiply by b. A divided by b times b will have the b's cancel, leaving us with just a. The equals sign will drop down. And then c times b, well, in algebra, if we're multiplying two variables, we just write them next to each other without a multiply symbol. So our answer here is A equals CB. On to today's final question. Make A the subject of the formula AB over C equals D. Here, our variable of A is within the term AB. So because this formula is more complex, we first need to isolate the term and then we will isolate the variable afterwards. This is the same method that we would use for rearranging equations. So I need to get AB by itself, which means we need to get rid of the divide by C. The opposite operation of divide by C is times by C. So we will multiply both sides of the formula by C. AB divide by C times by C, the C's cancel and we're left with AB. The equal sign will drop down and then D times C is DC. We now need to isolate the variable, which means getting A by itself. To do that, we need to get rid of the multiply by b, so we'll divide both sides of the formula by b. AB divided by b is just a, the equal sign drops down, and then I've got DC divide by b. We'll write this as a fraction, so we have DC all over b. So the final answer is A equals DC over b. And that concludes today's lesson on formulae.